What are you hiding behind? Your degree, your title, your awards, your credentials, your institution? Or are you willing to tell people who you are, what you've lived through, why you care, why this matters? Because sometimes the thing you're afraid will hurt your credibility is actually the thing that creates the connection. And that is a beautiful thing.
If education sales has you second guessing yourself, take a breath. This is a trust first, relationship driven market, and the old tactics, they don't translate. This show replaces guesswork with clarity and a customer acquisition system that builds a pipeline you can trust. I'm Josh Chernikoff, two-time education founder with 2 exits and a lead gen coach for companies in education. Through my ed sales elevation experience over the last 2 years, I've coached 210 companies to leads on repeat. In 2025 alone, I delivered over 2,600 hours of coaching to education companies. My co-host is John Gamba. He also has a successful exit, and now he's the Director of Innovative Programs and the Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. This is the only show dedicated to customer acquisition for education companies, so consistent listeners go from stalled deals to clarity, credibility, and a pipeline they can rely on. This is Ed Sales Edge, where education company founders earn their edge.
Welcome to the Ed Sales Edge. We're recording this in mid-June 2026. I'm 45 days past triple bypass surgery. And after I got out of that surgery, about 48 to 72 hours, I shared a picture of myself on LinkedIn. I was shirtless, and I did have an 8-inch scar. And the response surprised me. Not because people suddenly cared about the surgery, but I was reminded and my heart was warmed that people cared about me. It was really wonderful to see, and it helped me in my recovery. And it reminded me of something I've been coaching founders on for years in the education space. People don't connect with your credentials. They actually connect with your story. And today's guest is someone who has lived that lesson firsthand. Peter Mills is the founder of Recess Reset. He's connected to Stanford. That's fantastic. He's built an incredible product. That's fantastic. He's surrounded himself with an amazing board. And for a long time, Peter has wrestled with this idea, is my story even relevant? I've been telling him that it is. So welcome to the show, Peter. How you doing?
Thanks, Josh, for having me. I'm good.
Good. So Peter, let's kind of start where we really started working together. And there seemed to be some hesitation for you around putting yourself into your story. And I'm talking about in multiple places. Mm-hmm. So talk to the audience first about what was your concern about putting yourself in the story. And I mean LinkedIn, and I mean the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I felt that I've had a kind of non-linear life trajectory. In my early 20s, I was a professional dancer, and then I left my whole life as a professional dancer and moved to India and lived on ashrams. And so I was hesitant to tell this story because I didn't know if it would detract from the credibility, like if it would line up with Stanford, all these positive signals that sort of you try to accrue as a founder of like, yes, we are building trust signals. And then is like my sort of like more alternative life path going to be a detriment to those trust signals.
And so you were worried that this unconventional yet amazing path was going to lower your credibility as a founder.
Yeah. Yeah. I can say that on the surface. I think that underneath that, psychologically, it's also just vulnerable. It's
Mm.
vulnerable to say, hey, this was my life. These are the twists and turns of my life. And here I am. So I think that's also another aspect of it is just as a human standing in who you are as a person very transparently.
Yeah, not everybody has to take their shirt off in a hospital room and take a picture and then put it on LinkedIn. I get it. I get it. That's what you're saying. What was the moment for you, though, where maybe things clicked or changed and you said, you know what? I am going to tell parts of this story now. Was there a moment for you?
Yeah, I would say it's like a series of building moments. Like it started with when I was even piloting the product, and I created these like onboarding videos, and one of them I actually would guide the animated video lessons that I create with my own voice. And so a lot of time the teachers that were pilot would be like, "Oh, but we want to use the version where you did it because we
Mm.
liked it hearing your voice." And I was like, "Oh no, but the product is actually designed for you to lead it." So I would get these like little nudges of something like, "Hey, we'd like to see you more." Um, but I guess the moment that really clicked for me is when we were working together, Josh, and we had developed this what you call signature solution, and I had put it up on the web page, and I had put it with my photo. And then we were in a coaching call, and you just reflected back to me, this photo of you, this is the only time I see you at all on the website. And I just took that as a cue, and I realized, yeah, you're right. And so that was kind of a moment where I've been getting all this feedback from teachers around including myself more and telling my story more. And so in that moment, then I decided to throw a picture of me up above the fold on the homepage, and then add a little kind of meet the team section where I tell my story more in depth.
Yeah. When when we when I reflect back on that moment, I absolutely agree that that was a turning point for you. And it takes me to one of the reasons I think we were so successful working together. Something that John Gamba says a lot: the paradox of humility and will. Where you uh, are never going to give up, but you're also coachable. And I wanted more Peter. I could still see in my head. There's an amazing picture that you used on LinkedIn of you dancing.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, how does the body move in ways like that? And there you are doing that, and I thought that was one of the coolest pictures that I've seen on LinkedIn. And I'm always looking for pictures on LinkedIn like that. Quick pause. If this is already hitting you, if you're realizing you don't want to disappear this summer, but you also don't want to burn yourself out, we're putting together something simple for you. It's called the 90-Day Founder Challenge. It helps you decide what to sell, who to focus on, what relationships to build, and what rhythm to follow over the next 90 days. Text 90 days to 771-333-4233 and we'll send it to you. And if you're a teacher founder who wants help thinking through your next 30 days, text me too. All right, let's get practical. When you think about stories that you can tell that are relevant to your audience being principals in the education space, how do you think of those stories and how do you relate them to those principles? What's your process that you use? Because you become a really great writer.
Hmm. I guess I just think about what resonates for me and what it's actually something you coached me on, what value I can add.
Mm.
I think a lot of this on LinkedIn, you see this, like a lot of founders or business coaches and things like that, where um, there's kind of like these updates of success or this, I don't know, it's like this, you feel the self promotion in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the ethos that I just decided, because that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me as a person. Energetically, I feel icky inside doing that. So I just can't do that as a person. So
Yeah.
I had to find my way into this that was authentic and aligned for me, because it's really important for me to just live my life very values aligned. And so one thing that I felt like, oh, well, I can do is I can personally share and I can add value in that share. So I think those are the two things that I try to uh, incorporate in telling my story or messaging to people. Yeah, and it's just, I think a part of it is making it relatable. You know, I build a product that has to do with self-regulation and emotional regulation, and that's a relatable product that I think uh, anybody can relate to. It just takes somebody vulnerable to say, oh, I've had emotional dysregulation in my life. I struggled with self-regulation, and make it approachable.
Yeah. I appreciate that help on the process, and I think that what I do coach to the folks that I work with is you got to get writing on LinkedIn, and maybe you want to look through your pictures in a photo album even, to see what Peter as a kid looked like, or Josh as a kid was doing. You can look at photos on your iPhone, and that could bring about some stories that you could tell, that you can relate to your perfect client, and to Peter's point, bring them value. And I learned that from Rich Litvin, who is a coach that I follow very closely, and we should always be trying to write and to give value, so that when we do get a chance to meet people, they hopefully say to you, thank you for all that you've given me, over the years, whether it be a show or whether it be a post. And so you give value first. And you had somebody give you some value. And we talked about this in our pre-show interview. And I also haven't stopped thinking about it. So can you talk about that value that was given to you in the email that you received? I believe was from a board member, or was from a board
Oh,
member's friend.
yeah, one of my board members. It's a connection to a woman named Laura Sanders, who's like, she's a former mentor with Techstars, and she, one of my board members had made this introduction, and we had included a little blurb about Recess Reset, and Laura very sweetly replied and said, we'd love to get on the call with you, and sort of, I want to give you a task for for next week when we get on the call. It's like, I want you to think about how you could message what you're doing to make people care, not to impress them. And yeah, it was significant, right? Because I'm a founder that comes from the Stanford network that Stanford funded, so it's easy to be like, lead with, we're from Stanford and we've achieved this many users in a short time, and all those things, and we have partnership with Teach for America, and kind of just like throw out the credibility signals. But credibility signals don't make people care. Yeah, so that was her invitation to me.
Yeah, I thought that was a great question from her, and something for our audience to ponder as well.
And this is exactly why we've been building the education sales entourage, because a 90-day plan is helpful. But a 90-day plan inside the right room is much more powerful. You need a place to bring your questions, your target buyer, your offer, your messy message, the thing you keep circling but haven't acted on yet. That's what the entourage is becoming, a working room for education founders. So if you're already inside, use the room. And if you're not yet, go to school.com/entourage. All right, back to the show.
When you tell a principal your story, especially yours, and pretty much all of the founders I work with, everything begins to change. And so, what is it about your story do you think that you're able to share with principals that helps them understand recess reset better? I would like you to make the connections so that somebody in our audience can say, okay, my product is this, my story is this, my perfect client is this. Here's how we can put these things together so I can be more successful. What was that triangle like for you? Again, your story, your product, and your buyer. How did you triangulate those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I get on a call with a principal that's interested in piloting or purchasing, I always throw this photo of me up on the screen, and it's a picture of me dancing in the playground at a Halloween parade with
I
my
know
full
it.
singers in San Francisco Unified School District, and I just start by saying, "Hey, this was me." And this moment where I was having all this fun, or all these students outside, and then they have to go back into their class and they have to start learning. This is a totally chaotic moment, and I struggled with this as a teacher. And immediately, a principal knows this. They know this. This is entirely relatable, and it brings kind of like what Laura had reflected back to me. It's like, why do you care? This is something so tangible inside a principal's day, like the student, not as a concept, student dysregulation, but like, hey, all these wild and crazy kids out at recess and they just walked into my classroom. What's that moment look and feel like? You know? So I always start with that story to just build rapport and give a very concrete way for a principal to understand what it is our product offers teachers.
And I also love the fact that you have a plan. You have a plan for that conversation. And I believe in plans and systems. Obviously, you can go off script, but to have bullet points and to know that that conversation is hopefully, assuming it goes the way you envision it, with this picture, with this story, with this ability to relate, and then we're rolling from there. Mm-hmm. And I think that works really well for founders. So I love the fact that you're doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing I do also that I thought I'd throw in there is I make a conscious effort to relate my product to other solutions that teachers and principals know about, and where my solution is differentiated from those, not as like a, hey, I'm better than, but to give like a context. And I just got an email in my inbox today from somebody who I got another intro to, and they were like, oh, this product reminds me a lot of Go Noodle. There's another, people probably aren't familiar with that are listening to this, but it's another ed tech product in the early elementary space. And I always, when I pitch to principals, I say, and your teachers have probably used Go Noodle and Class Dojo, and our product works a lot like this. And inside those platforms, there are these features that help do what we do, but we really wanted to build that out in a more robust way. And that's another way to like be inside someone's world, when somebody feels seen, that's a really good thing. So to be able to send those signals of like, I understand the products that your teachers use. I use them. You probably use them.
Quick pause before we wrap. This is the work we help founders do inside the ed sales revenue machine and the education sales entourage. Get clear on your perfect client. Tighten your offer. Build the right relationships. Create the rhythm. And stop guessing alone. If you want the simple planning tool from today's conversation, text 90 days to 77133 234-233. We'll send you the 90-Day Founder Challenge. And if you want the room where founders are doing this work together, go to school.com/entourage. All right, let's close this out.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a big believer in this idea of clean windows versus dirty windows. And the exercise is, imagine that you are a window washer and you wash windows for a living, and you look at a building with dirty windows and you look at a building with clean windows. In the education space, I believe, clearly you believe as well, that you should approach the building with the clean windows. Because the building with the clean windows, that person already values a clean window. They like the way a clean window smells. They like the way a clean window feels. And so, to your point, you are giving those signals to them, and vice versa, that you understand them and they understand you, in fact. And you can have an elevated conversation by mentioning your competition, because we've got competition and we're in the education space. I've never believed in competition, ever. There are so many schools and so many kids, so competition to me is not a very real thing. I want to leave everyone with a question or a few. What are you hiding behind? Your degree, your title, your awards, your credentials, your institution? Or are you willing to tell people who you are, what you've lived through, why you care, why this matters? Because sometimes the thing you're afraid will hurt your credibility is actually the thing that creates the connection. And that is a beautiful thing. Peter, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Ed Sales Edge.
All right, that's it for this episode of the Ed Sales Edge. Thanks for joining us. If you sell into education, the goal of this show is very simple: to help you stop guessing what actually moves deals in a system where trust matters. If you want to go deeper, join us inside the Entourage, our private community for education founders and operators selling into schools. You'll see the details in the show notes. If this episode helped you think more clearly, that's great. Subscribe, like it, and share it with another founder in the education space. Until next time, get clear, build trust, set up a system for sales, and keep earning your edge.